You're listening to Simply the Best Sports Take, the best podcast breaking down the best stuff in sports with host Sean Bingham. His takes are so good, he dropped the mic, but then you wouldn't be able to hear him, and that would suck.
Welcome into STB Sports Take, Simply the Best Sports Podcast. I am your host, Sean Bingham. Happy Friday to all of you. Happy first round of the NCAA tournament. We missed it last year. It is back this year. We are on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor Podcasts, and many more. Thank you for joining us. Love having you guys. Got a good show today lined up. I got to start, though, with the Utah Jazz. Me putting my foot in my mouth, but also being right at the same time. I have said they lose to the Wizards last night, the lowly Wizards, the 13th in the East Wizards. The Jazz are first in the entire NBA. The Wizards are the 13th best team in the Eastern Conference. But I've been touting that the Wizards are far better than their record shows. And of course, they decide to show that I'm right against my team, the Utah Jazz. And so last night, the Wizards do beat the Jazz, 131-122. The Jazz were really getting their butts kicked for most of the game. Had a pretty awesome comeback. Got to within, I think it was like 7 points with 6 minutes left. It looked like the Jazz were going to finally overcome this and get the win. Wizards call timeout and just come out of that timeout ready to rock and roll, and they just take a commanding lead again. So they end up winning by 9. The Wizards do. And how funny that literally just yesterday, I'm talking about how the Wizards, I'm going to stick with my pick of the Wizards showing that they're better than their record is and making the playoffs in the East, and that they're going to start winning more games. But then I also said, well, they're going to lose tonight against the Jazz. They'll lose their next game against Brooklyn. This team is so bizarre. They tend to play to the level of their competition. When they're playing crappy teams, they play like crap. When they're playing good teams, they play really well. So they beat the Jazz. Russell Westbrook had a triple-double, 35 points, 15 rebounds, 13 assists. And then Bradley Beal went off for 43. So the Jazz defense was kind of non-existent. The Wizards shot the ball just really, really well. Donovan Mitchell played well offensively, had 42 points. Joe Ingles was out of his mind with 34 points on 8 of 10 from 3. 8 of 10 from 3 by Joe Ingles. Impressive game in some aspects, from a three-point shooting standpoint for Joe Ingles and Donovan over 40, but defensively giving up 131. Bradley Beal with 43. Just the Jazz just couldn't. Of course it happened to me. Of course it happened to me that the same day that I said all that stuff. So anyway, moving on from that, I need to talk now about Lavar Ball. This guy is a total idiot. I'm sorry. He is just the worst. He needs to shut up. Lavar, please just shut up. I get it. You have some super talented athletic sons. You've got 2 of them in the NBA. Whatever you did to raise them, there was a lot of things you clearly did right. Love that he's a family man. Love that he loves his family as much as he does. Totally respect that 100%. But at this point, dude, they're grown men. They're in the NBA. Please just shut up. Yesterday, he was on a radio interview in Los Angeles, and he said a few things. The biggest one I want to talk about is he called Michael Jordan, yes, Michael Jordan, the king of basketball. You Google basketball, you see Michael Jordan. He called him expired milk. And said that LaMelo did not need to heed any of his advice, didn't need any Michael Jordan advice because he's expired milk. And when was the last time you won a championship? Well, dude, Lavar, what does that make you, bro? Like the dead cow? Like, you never won a championship. You're a never was. You never did anything. You raised sons who are now doing it, and you're selfishly riding their coattails to force yourself into the spotlight for fame. So for him to say that about Michael Jordan is one of the most ridiculous things, one of the most obvious fame-seeking. He wants stuff like this to happen. He wants us podcasters to talk about it. He wants the media to talk about it. And it works, in that regard, it does work. But I'm telling you right now, I think it's so bad. I think LaVar Ball is so bad that I really believe that LiAngelo Ball, who's the middle son, who's not in the league, I believe that he's good enough to be in the league, and that he probably would be at least on the end of a bench somewhere in the league, But because his talent isn't quite high enough to be more of a contributing player on a team, the general managers and owners are like, and head coaches are like, dude, the last thing we need is for one of our end of the bench guys to be giving us a headache through his dad. I mean, think of those guys in high school or college where it's like the guy that's sitting at the end of the bench, his dad's yelling down from the stands. That's Lavar Ball, but he's doing it at the professional level with grown adults, with grown men, with people that are getting paid millions and millions of dollars to play basketball, millions and millions more to manage the team and operate the team and coach the team. And he's there thinking that he can do it. He thinks he's this phenomenal businessman. The BBB, whatever it was, it's so lame I can't even remember what it stood for. Big Baller Brand, that's what it was. The Big Baller Brand was a total flop. The shoes sucked. You're not a businessman. You've got some really talented sons. Let them just do their thing. Let them just be talented. Let them play in the NBA. Coach them behind the scenes. If you want to make a few public statements here and there when the microphone's in front of you, I guess go for it. But to call the greatest basketball player of all time and the owner of the team that your son LaMelo plays for, to call him expired milk and that you don't need his advice because when was the last time he won a championship? Bro, he's the greatest basketball player of all time. Literally the greatest athlete of all time. I mean, it's absolutely impossible for me to comprehend how he would say that or why he would say that, other than the fact that he's selfishly riding coattails of his sons, trying to get famous, living vicariously through them because they're accomplishing things that he never could. That's what he's doing. So, LaVar, for your own good, for your son's own good, just shut up. Just shut up. Be cool for once, for once in your life. Like, just relax. Like you've clearly been a great dad in many aspects. You're missing the mark on this one, though. You are missing the mark. So, okay, moving on from that. We'll get more into that a little bit because he said some other things, actually, which maybe I will touch on him right now. He said some other things about Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson not being playmakers. And so he hates Lonzo's situation in New Orleans. Thinks that he said that Lonzo hates it in New Orleans. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm going to get into that more. But in fact, all we're talking about, I was going to talk some NCAA stuff. It is the first day of the tournament, but let's just keep going down this Lonzo track, this Lavar Ball track. So the games last night, both Ball brothers played last night. The Pelicans lost again to the Blazers, 2 games in a row to the same team. I could just kind of redo the podcast from the other day when I talked about how Stan Van Gundy should be on the hot seat and Damian Lillard should be the MVP because it was just a Groundhog Day performance all around by those two teams. Zion had 26, Lonzo had 15, Brandon Ingram 19, but the Pelicans lose 101-93. Damian Lillard goes off for 36, 6 3-pointers, also had 6 rebounds. He did have 7 turnovers, which is obviously not good, but leads all scorers with 36 points, 12 of 22 from the field. So again, it's like, and CJ McCollum, again, second most important player on the team, second best player on the team, only has 11 points, 3 of 16 shooting. And McCollum, I have it down here somewhere. So McCollum and Gary Trent Jr. combined to go 3 of 27 yesterday. So those are like some of their second and third best players, 3 of 27. And the Blazers still win. So again, I could just redo what I said the other day. Stan Van Gundy, in my opinion, has to go. This team continues to lose. Now you've got supposedly your point guard hates being there or you can't stand it there. I don't know if that's true, if LaVar embellished that or what. But if Lonzo wants out, Lonzo's having a career year. He's a bona fide starter. He's a guy that is a playmaker. And to say that Zion and Brandon Ingram are not is obviously just not true. They're all-star level. They're all-stars or all-star level players. They're better than your son, LaVar. I hate to break it to you, but they're better than your son. And Zion's a once-in-a-generation type talent. And if this team keeps losing, I don't see how Stan Van Gundy keeps his job. They have to start winning some games. They're 17-24, well below 500. They're not going to make the playoffs. And you just don't want to waste years. You've only got a few years that these guys are under contract. And you're not in a market that they're going to want to stay in unless they're winning. That's literally the only way to keep guys, is you have to be winning. If you keep guys like Greg Pop, or if you win like Greg Popovich in San Antonio, or like OKC was for a while, you can hang on to guys a little bit. The second you start losing, they're gone to greener pastures. And there are a lot more greener pastures than New Orleans when it comes to the NBA especially. So you're not going to hang on to Zion Williamson forever. Brandon Ingram and Lonzo and some of these other guys on the team, they are replaceable. Brandon Ingram's a little bit harder to replace, obviously. But Zion is near impossible to replace. You got to hang on to that guy. And if you don't start winning, you're going to lose him. And so, in my opinion, Stan Van Gundy's got to go. He's got to go. But LeVar needs to also just shut his mouth a little bit more frequently. Okay, so now I'm going to go transition a little bit. We'll come back to the NBA. We're going to transition over to March Madness. The first 4 games were yesterday or last night. I've actually got the first round going on my TV over here. But the first 4 games were phenomenal. I mean, it was true NCAA March Madness at its greatest. And all 4 games were close. One of them went to overtime. 2 of them were determined by just 1 point. And that was not the overtime game. So, I mean, all 4 games were just fantastic. So, the first round's underway now. I'm looking at it as none of the games are finished yet. By the time I get this up, some of those first ones will be done, but none of them are finished yet. Quite a few of you joined the Bracket Challenge. Thank you for that. Again, $100 to the winner. It's free to enter. And a segment on the podcast. We'll do it through Zoom or something. But I'm excited to see how the Bracket Challenge goes. So thank you for joining. I think there was like 45 or something like that people that joined. My Final Four, I didn't mention anything other than I picked Gonzaga to win it all. Really went on a limb there, I know. And that I had Georgetown as a 12 seed to really do some damage. So I'll give you a few more insights as to my bracket for those that aren't in the Bracket Challenge that can't see it. Yes, I had Gonzaga winning it all. My Final Four, I had a 1 seed, a 2 seed, a 3 seed, and a 4 seed. Just thought that'd be kind of fun. So I picked Gonzaga, obviously, in the Final Four. Alabama. To me, Alabama has been one of the best teams all season. They're streaking right now. They won the SEC tournament, and maybe they can match what their football team's been doing for years. So to me, Alabama was an easy choice for the Final Four, along with Gonzaga. Gonzaga's been the best team all season. Haven't lost, obviously. West Virginia was the 3 seed that I chose to reach the Final Four. They've only lost to really high-quality opponents. They've had the 13th hardest schedule in the country. They've been battle-tested the entire season. I'm a big fan of coaching in the NCAA tournament and proven coaches. And this year, you don't have a Duke, you don't have a Kentucky, but Bob Huggins is a guy that I think can really coach. He last took West Virginia to the Final Four in 2010, and 2 years, so in 2017 and 2018, he took them to the Sweet 16. And so he's a battle-tested guy. The team's battle-tested. They've gone through very, very tough opponents. They did not get blown out ever the entire season, despite losing several games. All of those games were very, very tough games against ranked opponents, including Gonzaga, who only beat them by 5. And Gonzaga was blowing everybody out all season long. So I got West Virginia reaching the Final Four. Their opponent in my bracket will be Purdue. They're a 4 seed that I picked. Kind of a similar thing here. Matt Painter is a coach that I believe in, and they have been kind of building. The last tournament we had was obviously 2019, and they had a very close Elite 8 loss in that tournament. And for the 2 years before that, they reached the Sweet 16. So it's something I think he's building towards. And so Purdue was a team that I had in the Final Four as well. And then I had Purdue matching up with Gonzaga. I'm kind of thinking I wish I would have put West Virginia. Too late now. But I've got Gonzaga over Purdue in the championship. And then again, I had Georgetown as a 12 seed, barely above 500, by the way. So they only made the tournament because they won the Big East tournament. And I've got them in the Sweet 16. So pretty big stuff there. So that's my bracketology. We'll see how it goes. Again, I've had some years where I just crushed it and other years where I did not, as I'm sure all of you have experienced as well. But again, it's kind of fun to watch. In fact, right now, I look over and right now it's Florida 62, Virginia Tech 61 with 29.7 seconds left. So I might get distracted here for a second, but we'll keep an eye on that here. Okay, back to the NBA. I got to keep recording. The Blazers beat the Pelicans. We talked about that. And I wanted to talk a little bit about getting back to that game and MVP talk. So LaMelo and the Lakers played last night. LaMelo and the Hornets played LeBron and the Lakers. And the Lakers won 116-105. LaMelo led his team in scoring with 26. LeBron led his team in scoring with 37. And after the game, Kyle Kuzma, who we all know has been trade bait for 3 seasons now with the Lakers, and is now just sucking up to LeBron to get, because LeBron controls everything. We know this. He's trying to get LeBron to not want to, get rid of him as a teammate. And so he says in the post-game press conference that LeBron should have won 8 or 9 or 10 MVPs by now. LeBron has 4. And I started thinking, okay, I believe that Damian Lillard is the MVP as of right now. Do I think that he's better than LeBron James? No, not really. Not at all, if I'm being honest. But it is a regular season award. LeBron obviously is always in the running. He's always a top 4 or 5 candidate for MVP every season. But he does coast a little bit. He's actually even been open in the past about coasting a little bit in the regular season so that he can be ready for the playoffs more fully. His Cavaliers teams consistently were the best team in the East that would finish second in the standings, even third or fourth in the standings. But we all knew going into the playoffs they're going to reach the finals, and they did every year. So he's not exactly been trying to win MVPs always. And so I started thinking, what are the criteria? Sorry, I just got to look over real quick. Okay, 64-61 Florida with 7 seconds left. Anyway, so I started thinking, what is the criteria for winning MVP? It is a regular season award. I do think it's a little bit lame that the media just tries to find a new guy, a new reason to give it to somebody new every year. It's like they don't want to give it to the best player. They don't even hold themselves to the same criteria year after year. Russell Westbrook averages a triple-double. He's the MVP. He averages a triple-double again. He doesn't even finish top 5. He averages a triple-double again. Doesn't even finish top 5. There's just no rhyme or reason to it. Giannis Antetokounmpo, MVP for tons of points and rebounds and high PER, and his team's among the top in the league, wins MVP, does it again. He's MVP and Defensive Player of the Year. He's doing the exact same thing this year. Nobody's talking about him. So I don't understand. They're always trying to look for somebody new to give it to. This year it's Jokic. Well, Jokic, his team is underachieving, and he's having a slightly better year than he's had in years past, but his team's doing quite a bit worse. So why is he the front runner now? So the NBA actually released on NBA.com their MVP ladder, as they call it. And they had, this is the top 10, I'll read them off. They had Jokic, number 1, so Nikola Jokic with Denver. They did have Damian Lillard, number 2, so maybe they've been listening to me. Then they had Giannis. This is a huge change from what they had before, by the way. Joel Embiid was number 1. Jokic was 2. I believe LeBron was 3. I mean, they've really shifted this around. So now they have Jokic 1, Lillard 2, Giannis 3, LeBron 4, Embiid 5, Harden 6, Luka Doncic 7, Kawhi Leonard 8, Stephen Curry 9, Jimmy Butler 10. Jimmy Butler at 10, I don't know, I guess. I mean, the Heat have been on a roll recently. He obviously is clearly the best player on that team. But I feel like there's other guys that, are more deserving. But the bottom 5, let's not even worry about them. Those top 5, Jokic, Lillard, Giannis, LeBron, Joel Embiid. I can actually agree on those top 5. Harden would probably be a little bit more in the mix for me. I'm not sure who I would replace him with. Honestly, for me, I'd maybe replace Jokic with Harden, which is funny because they've got Jokic at number 1. I would maybe put Harden as number 5 and then bump everybody else up. I've already said I think Lillard is number 1. I do think right now I would probably put Giannis at 2. Well, no, I would put Embiid at 2, assuming he can actually come back and play. And I think that's why Embiid took the huge hit, is because he's injured now. But Giannis' team is streaking. He's had 3 straight triple-doubles. He didn't have one the other night, but he had 3 straight triple-doubles. Then his team won again a 4th time, but he didn't get a triple-double, but he had 30-plus points and played great. LeBron, the Lakers are finally winning again. They've won 5 straight now without Anthony Davis. But before that, they were kind of proving that maybe Anthony Davis was their MVP, because without him, they can't win a game. And so you can't put LeBron much higher than 4, in my opinion. His numbers are obviously very impressive. He's a stat sheet filler. His team's underachieving a little bit, though. They've kind of shown that without Anthony Davis, they're really not that great. And so to me, that's why Damian Lillard should deserve it, because it is a regular season award. You can't take into account. So to me, these are the criteria. Oh shoot, I think something big happened. It's tied. It's tied over here, 64-64 with 1.7 seconds left. So Virginia Tech just got a 3 or something. This is March Madness for you. I mean, this is it. It's never ending. It doesn't stop. I freaking love March Madness. It's so much fun. I love watching full court press. You never see that in the NBA. Anyway, okay, so I lost my train of thought. What was I talking about? MVP. I'm so distracted by March Madness. I got to kind of watch this final play, but I don't want to keep the listening and viewing audience too bored. Okay, they're going for a full court pass here. I mean, by the time you get this, we're going to overtime. Okay, that's boring. Okay, so this gives me time. All right, so what is the criteria for MVP? Okay, certainly winning plays a factor, but I think degree of difficulty should play a huge role in that. Because if you just are the best team or the best player on the best team, then I guess Donovan Mitchell is the MVP. But he didn't even make the top 10. So it's like, where do you draw the line for this criteria? So to me, degree of difficulty needs to play a role. And there should never, ever, ever be this unwritten rule that we need to share the MVP award, around to different players. It needs to be someone different. It needs to be something unique. Why is that how they do it? Why does Steve Nash have 2 of these things and LeBron only has 4? Why does Steve Nash have 2 and Kobe only has 1? Dwayne Wade has 0. Shaq only has 1. I mean, it's a really bizarre award. I know for me right now, I would vote for Damian Lillard. I would probably vote for Joel Embiid. If the season ended today, Joel Embiid would be second. It's not going to end today, though, and he's probably going to miss another couple weeks. And so it's tough to keep him there. But LeBron's always going to finish top 3, but he's just at a point in his career where he's not trying to win the award. I think he kind of is this year, and we'll see where he finishes. But 8 or 9 or 10, no. Should he have more than 4? Yeah, he probably should have at least 5 or 6. Should Jordan have like 7 or 8? Yeah, Jordan probably should actually have 7 or 8. Was he clearly the most valuable player in the league and the best player in the league for a solid decade? Yeah, he was. So I don't know. There's no rhyme or reason to how the media votes, but Jokic is not my MVP as of right now, but apparently he's in first for them. Okay, speaking of LeBron, I wanted to talk briefly about there's a report came out that he has now purchased part of the Boston Red Sox. The Boston Red Sox. So one thing LeBron dominates at other than basketball is business. This guy is building an absolute empire. I mean, the things he has amassed, so he has his production company, Spring Hill Entertainment. They produce TV shows, movies even. It's already a huge success. If he puts his name to something, it's successful. He's actually a 10% owner in Blaze Pizza. Not sure how many of you knew that. I believe he's the largest individual person owner of the entire company. He's listed on their website as one of the, quote, key people, along with 2 of the founders and 3 of the executives, and then LeBron James. Is the 6th guy they list. So, huge deal there. His sports agency, Clutch Sports, which is not his, it's Rich Paul's. LeBron supposedly doesn't have any ownership. I don't believe that for a second. I definitely think there's some sort of deal already worked out with Rich Paul and LeBron. Like, hey, this is actually my company, even though it's not for now. We'll have this unwritten thing that the second I retire, I own 50% of it retroactively or whatever they're going to do. I don't know. Technically, he owns nothing, but I don't believe that for a second. Rich Paul is like one of his lifelong friends, or I guess, actually, I'm going to divert for a second here. He and Rich Paul, I don't know if you know how they met. It's actually a really cool story. Rich Paul was 21. LeBron was 17 or 18. He was in high school. And they were both at the airport in Akron, where they're from. So they're both from the same hometown. And Rich Paul was wearing like a funky throwback Houston Oilers jersey or something like that, Warren Moon, I think. And LeBron liked it, so he asked him about it. They start talking. Again, LeBron's in high school. Rich Paul's just 21. And they get chatting about, these jerseys, I guess. And Rich Paul gives him a place to go in Atlanta when LeBron goes down there because they're both flying down to Atlanta. Said, yeah, you can go get the jersey from this spot and, drop my name. They'll give you a little discount. Well, they end up becoming close friends. LeBron hires him as his agent, and now he's amassed this humongous, he's now like really the number 2 agent in sports. He's already got guys like LeBron, Draymond Green, Ben Simmons, Anthony Davis, Trae Young, John Wall. Huge sports agency, Clutch Sports, hugely successful, and I firmly believe that LeBron James is the bigger reason behind its success than, of course, Rich Paul. I'm not taking anything away from Rich Paul. He's extremely talented businessman and of his own right. But having that LeBron James name attached to it, it goes a long way. So, again, his empire, building. The Red Sox, the production company, Blaze Pizza, the Clutch Sports. He's part owner in the Liverpool Football Club. Sorry, I got distracted by the game again. He has the I Promise School where he's giving back to the community and doing all these cool things. He has his massive Nike contract that's a lifetime deal now, supposedly worth over $1 billion. It looks like it's going to pay him over $30 million, or it's going to pay him $30 million a year for life. And Michael Jordan, by the way, his deal pays him last year, or 2019, it paid him $130 million. In 2019 alone. So Jordan's deal is worth significantly more, but Jordan made Nike. Like, Nike owes far more than that to Michael Jordan, in my opinion. But LeBron has just amassed this humongous empire. He's very open about wanting to own an NBA franchise at some point. I'm sure that he will. So hats off to him. The guy is just continued. I don't know where he has the time to do all of this. He's clearly surrounded himself with a very talented team, Maverick Carter, Rich Paul, and I'm sure many other people that I don't know their names, but I'm very, very impressed with LeBron James because he's not only the greatest basketball player in the world right now, or at least top 3 in the world, he's amassing this empire that is really setting an example to all these other athletes. Do good things with your money. Be smart with your money. He's got some really fantastic charity things he's doing, and then he's making solid investments, and the guy is... I don't know what his net worth is. I think it's over $1 billion now, or it's close. It certainly will be well over $1 billion soon. Very impressive what LeBron's doing. Very, very impressive. And to be doing it while still an active playing athlete is even that much more impressive. So I hope more athletes will follow in his footsteps and not in the footsteps of those that you see, like a Dennis Rodman, that go broke after making millions and millions of dollars playing basketball. Okay, transitioning on from that, there's a sad thing I need to report on. You may have heard this. It happened a while back, but it kind of became more official, I guess, this week. Shawn Bradley, who actually lives here in Utah, he went to BYU. He played like 11 seasons in the NBA, most of which were for the Dallas Mavericks. He also played for the Nets and the 76ers. 76ers, I know, drafted him. But he was hit by a car while riding his bike here in Utah, just not far from his house. And that was back in January, and for a couple months now, they've been doing, whatever they do, rehab and surgeries, and I don't really know all the details, but they've done whatever they can to try and rehabilitate him, and they have determined that he is paralyzed. And that announcement came, I think, on Tuesday or Wednesday of this week, and so I've been meaning to chat about it in the podcast and just hadn't gotten around to it. But I actually met him once. He was such a nice guy. He came to my junior high school. I went to Churchill Junior High in Salt Lake City. And he came up for, I don't remember what, something. But the guy was 7'6", 7 feet 6 inches tall. He was the number 1 draft pick. He was a great shot blocker. And so nice. Remember, he had this car that was the teeniest little car. I don't remember what it was, but think of almost like a Volkswagen Bug. Like, it was so small. It was a hatchback. And he had the seat pushed all the way back and leaned all the way back, the backrest part. And to watch him get into that was actually quite laughable. But I just remember him being so nice and so humongous. So really sad, but he's determined to be a force for good and to help those dealing with the same thing, the same tragedy. So yeah, my thoughts and prayers go out to Shawn Bradley and his family. Really a great guy, and there's some Utah ties, so I wanted to touch on that. The last thing I wanted to mention, and this was just a note I had from yesterday, I forgot to mention it, and that is that if I can find it here, that is that the Bucks, I don't remember what it was, I can't find it, but I remember what it was. The Bucks picked up PJ Tucker, and PJ Tucker is a guy that I think can actually, this is a really genius move. They gave up DJ Augustine for PJ Tucker. They're kind of similar players. DJ Augustine's 33. He was the oldest player on the Bucks, also the shortest, by the way, at 5'11". They're replacing him with a new oldest player on the team, 35-year-old PJ Tucker. They shoot about the same percentage from 3, but PJ Tucker is a bigger body who will require a bigger defender to be on him, and he also just sits out at the three-point line and can drill. He's one of the best corner three-point shooters I've ever seen. If he's open in the corner, you can book it. That's 3 points. And so I really believe this is the Bucks' way of saying, look, we know what the defenses want to do against Giannis in the postseason. They want to build the wall, kind of like Trump wanted to build the wall. They want to build the wall and keep Giannis from getting to the basket. Okay, fine. Build the wall, and we're going to have PJ Tucker sitting in the corner, and he's going to hit threes on you all night long. So you can watch PJ Tucker fill it up for 30 points on 10 threes, or you can let Giannis dunk it. You pick which one you want to give up. So I think this is a very, very smart move by the Milwaukee Bucks to get them ready for a playoff run. They are 100% focused on the playoffs. I still have them as the second best team in the East, behind, of course, the Brooklyn Nets. We will see. I'm excited for them to match up. That is all the time I have for today. Thank you guys for joining. Please subscribe. Please comment. Please follow along on social media. Please share it with your friends. Have a fantastic weekend. I am out. Peace.
Thanks for hanging with Simply the Best Sports Take. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and check out STBSportsTake.com. Simply the best in sports.